Hello everybody, welcome to engineering econometrics. First of all, thank you everybody for choosing this particular subject, and NPTEL is one of the solid kind of technological kind of improvement through which all of you can gain knowledge or develop knowledge by taking different kind of subjects as per your requirement or your career requirement. And with this kind of introductions, we like to highlight about the engineering econometrics. And econometrics is a very specialized kind of subject, and it is a specialized subject particularly in statistics area. And for knowing these subjects or gaining the knowledge with respect to engineering econometrics, you must have a basic statistical knowledge and or else basic econometrics knowledge. So, if you have that kind of knowledge, basic knowledge on business statistics or something kind of basic statistics, then definitely this subject will help you lot to go further. The thing is that here we have a different kind of requirement. So, we start with a simple econometric model to complex econometric modeling, and means basic application is here on regression analysis. So, we like to know how a particular problems can be analyzed with a simple structures like bivariate framework to multivariate framework. So, ultimately the requirement of this subject is that you must know the techniques, and you must know how to apply this technique as per your requirement. Of course, this subject title is engineering econometrics. So, that means technically you have two different domains here. One domain is your engineering kind of problems, not specifically engineering problems, it may be other problem also, but the idea is that here we like to discuss some of the econometrics tools, and then we like to connect with the various problems and engineering problems, that is basically application. So, that means econometrics itself is a applied subject, and here there are two requirements, knowing the techniques, and then you should know how to apply these techniques. So, either you bring the problem, so then you think how to apply econometrics tool to solve the problem, or sometimes there may be a particular econometric tool and you like to know or practical consequence or implication of this particular techniques. For that you have to pick up any kind of engineering problems or socioeconomic problem, then you can apply and see how the results are coming as per your requirement and as per the need. So, basically this subject is huge kind of potential, and because it is a like analytic subjects. Here you are testing the existing theory, or analyzing a complex problem and bringing some kind of solution to the it means as per the particular requirement. So, these subjects will help you to know some of the statistical tools starting with the bivariate to multivariate framework with the all kinds of obstacles, because while knowing some of the techniques from simple to complex, there are n number of errors or n number of issues will be coming into the picture. So, we like to highlight all these issues while moving from simple structure to multiple structure and simple problem to complex problem. And once your problem is very complex and very challenging, then this technique or this subject will be very useful, because this subject is meant to solve some of the complex problems and challenging problems to get the output and make the system simpler actually. So, bring the complex problems, know the techniques, apply the right software, get the output, and then bring the decision or the need as per the particular requirement. So, we have it means this particular session is basically to know your doubts, if any issues, any problems which you are facing, to know the techniques, to know the application, to apply the software or something like that. So, my suggestion is that if you have any kind of difficulty and any kind of issues and challenges, so you can put me. I am here to address your problems and issues. And in the meantime, you can also drop a mail or give me a call, and I am always behind always with you to solve your problems and queries. And this is it is a pleasure, and there is no need that you have to raise the issue, because so only you have gone through few lectures, then there are series of lectures are there, and obviously in the first couple of lectures you may not have any problem, or later stage you may have a problems when we move into the complex kind of techniques or complex kind of requirements. And you can again address or raise this particular issue. You can drop a mail, or again you can give me a call, so that I am always available to help you. And the thing is that or that means my suggestion is here that, so you try to know the techniques very well, and follow up how it is applied, or how to get the output through a particular software. So, basically this is a kind of technical subjects. So, knowing the techniques is one aspect, knowing the software is another aspect, and then connecting with real life problem and the solution is a ultimate kind of requirement. So, you must have some kind of ability or some kind of strength, so that you can understand the techniques or pick up these techniques, and knowing these techniques, pick up these techniques, again one aspect, and to apply these techniques through a particular software is again kind of a challenging process. The thing is that any technique you like to know, you must have some kind of data, and for that reasons we like to apply some of the areas, engineering areas. So, whether you are a civil engineer, whether you are a chemical engineer, or whether you are mechanical engineer, does not matter. So, that means if you have any kind of problem, complex problem or multidimensional problem, and you can actually try to solve this problem through this particular technique. So, this is basically predictive techniques, and whether you bring actually civil engineering problem or chemical engineering problem, it must be with that particular requirement and objectives. If your objective is very much clear with respect to prediction and forecasting, then engineering econometrics will help you a lot to get these answers or get these requirements. So, I have here for couple of questions, and the questions are basically very simple. Somebody asking actually good book to learn basic econometrics using R. Okay. So, good books means there is a simple book about econometrics, is a basic econometrics by Gujarati, and econometrics, it is a very vast subject, very old subjects. There are n number of books are available, and some books are very simple, some books are very complex, and if you have ability, you can actually go to the complex books, otherwise you can go to the simple book. So, my basics means very formal suggestion is that you can use basic econometrics Gujarati and know the econometrics tools first, then you can apply as per the requirement. So, again ultimate suggestion is that try to pick up these techniques, know these techniques, and then second stage pick up the right problem where you can apply and get the output. Because means I am just highlighting that suppose you are a civil engineer, or or chemical engineering, your area of research or area of work is connected to civil engineering or mechanical engineering. So, that is why after knowing the technique, some of these techniques, you can pick up a right engineering problem, civil engineering problem or chemical engineering problem. So, that this technique can be applied and you can get some kind of an output as per the requirement. So, so here two things very important. First one is the knowing these techniques, and their application, and again knowing the softwares through which these techniques can be connected to get the answer. So, once you pick up the engineering problem, so that means there are two ways. So, knowing the technique, choose a problem through which you can apply and get the output. Another case, you have a problem, you try to solve the problem. So, if you have a problem, you can transfer into a mathematical model by by identifying the variables, and then you can generate the data or get the data, because one of the most important requirement of the subject that whatever problem you like to solve, that should be transferred into a mathematical model in terms of variable composition. So, once the variables are identified through which the problems can be addressed, whether it is a chemical engineering problem, again mechanical engineering problem, does not matter, but the problem which you like to which you like to solve must be, it must be in the form of some kind of identify variables only. So, the once you identify the variable, the composition is actually challenging, and that needs some kind of means some way you try to compose properly, that is nothing but called as a mathematical structure. Once you bring the mathematical structure, the other requirement is big data, and then through software you can try to get the solution as per the requirement. So, basic requirement is that you try to know these techniques, and you try to try to know from the basic requirements itself. Suppose we are discussing something like autocorrelation problem. So, that means before autocorrelation problem, what are the techniques you are supposed to know, and then for the autocorrelations what else you are supposed to know and how to apply, then that will be easier for you. So, so pick up these techniques very rightly, and develop yourself how to understand these techniques and the kind of application areas, and then finally choose some kind of good software through which you can actually analyze the problem and get the output, and then solve bring the solution as per the as per your requirement and the kind of organizational requirement. So, this subject is having lots of potential, and it has lots of utility, and it will not help you lot for your individual requirement. If you, even if you are working with your organization, there is a organizational requirement, and again it is very useful for research, because most of the research as far as the publication is concerned, and your target is to go for a good journal, then definitely empirical analysis should be very effective, very significant, and you, in order to get good empirical output and good research output. So, econometrics, particularly engineering econometrics, will help you lot to have this outcome as per your need and requirement. And so far as the student career is concerned, this subject is a huge potential, and because it is a very technical subject, your statistical side or econometrical angle will be very strong, and it will help you lot to solve some of the problems wherever you like to work. So, that is how, that means technically you will be very sound by taking this subject, knowing these techniques, knowing the software, knowing their application. So, so it is always having a huge strength for for your career, and again where you like to go. Sometimes it is the company requirement, sometimes it is your requirement. So, that means sometimes there are two ways here. So, if you develop yourself, or know this technique, know the software, know the application, then definitely you have a market. So, you can you can actually you can look means you can go for the job where where people need people like you having sufficient knowledge on statistics and econometrics and the use of software through which solve the problem. So, my suggestion is that you know these techniques very well, know the softwares very well, and know the application very well, so that market will come to you automatically. So, otherwise you may not actually do well, or you cannot actually apply yourself to get the success or something like that. So, that is why my suggestion is that you develop yourself, since you have taken this subject, it has a huge potential, and try to pick up all these techniques and pick up know the softwares and try to solve some of the problems. And every time my suggestion is that if you are civil engineer, whatever techniques you like to use, you connect with all the civil engineering problems only. And if you are chemical engineers, and you whatever techniques you like to use, no, you connect with only chemical engineering problems, because the thing is that this particular subject is something called as input output process only. So, input is here the variable identification, generating data for these variables, picking up the technique, estimate this particular model, knowing the software to get the software output. It is one part of the story. The other part of the story is that how to interpret this result, how to analyze these results, and how you can go for implication, various implication, managerial implication, engineering implication, social implication, practical implication. So many things are there actually. Once you get the output, it has lots of, because it has a control mechanism altogether. So, since you are solving a problem, and that is the reason I told you that if the problem is very complex, then definitely this subject is actually more challenging and more interesting to sort out all these issues, all these complexities, and try to bring into a kind of simple format or balanced format, through which the requirement will be kind of satisfied, right. So, it has a huge potential or huge requirement, not only for students or industry or kind of academicians. So, it will help you individually, and it will help like kind of organizational requirement or company requirement, because it is actually multi-use or kind of multi-product kind of scheme, through which actually a huge potential is there to solve some of the problem as per the need. So, now means I have just highlighted the utility and the importance of this particular subject, and the rest, if you have any doubt, any queries, you can put me. And of course, whatever questions I have here, I have already highlighted, but in between, if you have no questions now, that is fine, but in between, if you have any questions, we may have again another session for interactions, or else in between you can drop a mail and drop give me a call, so that I can address your query. But my suggestion is that you try to pick up these techniques and pick up the software, know the application, and try to test practically by taking the data and the kind of engineering problems, and see how it is happening, what is happening, and what are the steps you have to follow to do this kind of job. It is not so easy, but it is not at all also difficult. Again, another suggestion is that in this subject we are using a number of softwares, and you try to always acquainted with more number of softwares to solve some of the problems through choosing a particular econometrics tools or econometrics technique. So, it is very easy to pick up a problem, very easy to choose a right technique, but sometimes if the problem is complex and very big, so manually you cannot get the output. So, that is the reason software is actually very handy and very useful to solve your problem, but provided you must know the software, choose the right software, choose the right technique, and get the output as per the your the best requirement or the kind of need. So, this is what I like to say, and if there is any other kind of issues which you like to raise, let me share, you can share, so that we are here to address your queries or kind of problems which you like to which you like to know or which you like to put here in the kind of forum. So, so again the basic structure is that okay, let me tell you that if since you need actually means this is a certification course altogether, and there are two requirements here, knowing the techniques, knowing the implications, and the kind of use of software. That is one aspect, and again if you are going for your expectation is good grade with certificate, then that means technically you have to have a constant touch with all these techniques, because these are all very technical subjects. Until unless you know these techniques, and until unless you have the kind of touch, it's not so easy to pick up. So that's why you have to be always constant touch, and most importantly, most of the tools are well connected with other components. So even if you are attending or knowing a particular technique at the 12th week, but still during that time first week lecture is also highly required, because it is a very structured kind of subject, and all the techniques are well clustered. So whether it is a simple one or complex one, most of the things you are supposed to know, and if you don't know most of these things as per the requirement, then you cannot solve the problem, you cannot apply the technique properly, or you cannot choose the right software as per the need. So you must that means technically it has it has huge potential, huge actually kind of requirement. So how means how best you can actually acquainted or adjusted with the requirement, that is the best part of this particular process, or best requirement of this particular subject. So enjoy the kind of knowledge, or enjoy to knowing these techniques, knowing these softwares, and the kind of problems through which you can solve through these econometric tools. So these are all the basic kind of guidance which I can give you at this stage, and rest you can rest up to you how you can actually apply yourself, or you can develop yourself as per the market requirement, or the kind of your organizational requirement. But it is by the way, it is a very technical subject, and until unless you have the ability and the kind of constant practice, you may not actually you may face difficulty to know the advanced technique. And even if you knowing the advanced technique, if you have no constant touch, then obviously it will be difficult for you to apply and to use and to solve some of the problems, complex problem as per the requirement. With this we can actually stop here, and thank you very much, and have a nice day, and all the best for this particular subject and your exam. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.